Hi everyone, my name is Katie English and I'm the Gifted Specialist IB Coordinator for Renfroe Middle School in City Schools of Decatur. Today's learning targets are for you to be able to interpret data from CRCT, Georgia milestones, and MAP scores, find trends in data sets, and utilize data more effectively through the use of a data team and PLCs. At Renfroe currently, school year 2018-2019, there are a total of 1,365 individually diverse students. During the last 4 years, the student population has increased more than 100 students per year. With our numbers increasing at a constant rate, we need to make sure we are working towards student success. Are we doing everything we can to support our learners in the classroom? City Schools of Decatur has made it a district goal to close achievement gaps between our Black or African American subgroup and our White Caucasian group. As numbers increase, our gap is becoming larger. To address the district's concern, RMS has created a school-wide goal of increasing ELA and math scores among our various subgroups, focusing on our Black or African American students. But how well are we really doing? Here's where data come into play. Using our data, we can support our students and close achievement gaps in ELA and math for our largest and most critical needs subgroup. It is important to really consider all of the data we as teachers and educators collect each day. These data points are critical in knowing how students are doing in class daily, weekly, monthly, etc. By analyzing and discussing our data with regularity, teachers can adjust curriculum supports and do so much more for our students. In most cases, it's not necessary to recreate the wheel. Let's look at what we already are doing to support our students. The supports that are already in place at RMS include RTI monitoring, REP or remedial education program classes in reading and math based on MAP scores, homework help after school daily where students can receive supports on all subjects from teachers or high school or college students, and finally, academic recovery, where students' names are given to the instructional coaches by a teacher or parent when assignments are outstanding or in need of being redone. The coaches work with the students in a one-on-one or small group setting to help them complete the assignments. When first starting to examine data, it's good to get a general overview. We will begin with the performance levels for the whole school, then look at the separate grade levels starting with 6th grade, and finally we will compare our subgroup data. For overall school data, we are doing quite well. The majority of learners are performing at or above grade level, scoring in the proficient or distinguished categories. In addition to state testing, RMS also looks at and uses MAP testing to monitor student progress. Here are the spring 2018 reading scores, which show the majority of students scoring in the high average to high range. Similarly, the MAP math scores show the majority of students scoring in the high average to high range as well. Here we have our 6th grade data. Please note that for all tables, school year 2015-16 use scores from the CRCT, while school years 2016-17 and 2017-18 use the Georgia milestones. Despite the varying tests, the trends remain quite similar. Notice how, as student numbers increase, the percentage of students in proficient and distinguished levels decrease. The same cannot be said for 7th grade. It seems that in school year 2016-17, all scores in ELA shifted to the majority of learners scoring in proficient and distinguished categories. Though that trend decreased in school year 2017-18, seeing the largest decrease in the distinguished category, dropping from 29.3% to 19.8%. The math scores were relatively consistent, although the same trend occurred in school years 2016-17 to 2017-18, with a decrease of 23% in distinguished learners. For 8th grade, the trends are less apparent. Most data points are consistent with a few anomalies, such as a decrease in distinguished learners in math from school years 2016-17 to 2017-18. Now we can look more closely at our subgroups to see any discrepancies. When examining these graphs, we would ideally like to see an increase in proficient and distinguished learners, and a decrease in the beginning and developing learners. These are the green and purple lines versus the blue and red lines, respectively. Additionally, we would like to see the majority of learners in the proficient category. Unfortunately, here we are seeing the opposite for subgroup Black or African American in ELA content. Looking now at the MAP reading scores, we see the same trend as the milestones. The highest ranges are decreasing, while the lowest ranges are increasing. Looking now at our largest student group, White Caucasian, we see a different trend here with the majority of students in the proficient level followed by distinguished. The same trends persist here as they did on the Georgia Milestones scores. High ranges are increasing, while low ranges are decreasing. Take a moment to contemplate these questions. What other trends do you notice between the ELA datasets? What questions do these data sets incite? This graph represents the first of our math comparisons. The same trend persists with our Black or African American students in math as ELA. As the years progress, proficient and distinguished percentages decrease, and beginning and developing increase, with the majority of the learners in the latter two categories. Again, we see a common trend with our subgroup Black or African American. In math, the Black or African American students decline on the higher ranges while increasing the average to low ranges. In the case of the White Caucasian group, all levels increased by year 3 with the exception of the distinguished learners, which takes a sharp decline in 2017-18. The trends here for White Caucasian students are inconsistent across the 3 years. The majority of students still score in the top 2 ranges, however the percentage of students in each range varies from year to year. Again, take a moment to contemplate the following questions. What other trends do you notice between the math datasets? What questions do these datasets incite? All of these datasets have trends. I discussed a few, but let's look at 2 main trends. There's no mistaking the achievement gap happening between our Black or African American students and our White Caucasian students. The majority of our Black or African American students are performing at the beginner and developing levels, while the majority of our White Caucasian students are performing at the proficient and distinguished levels. So what should we do with all of this information? We've discussed what we currently are doing and have analyzed the data. How can we adjust our actions to reach our targets and goals for school year 2019-2020? My suggestion to increase student achievement would be to take what we know and be more conscious of our data usage. We will create a data team of administrators and teachers and PLCs at each grade level to create more opportunities for discussion and uses of data that can drive instruction. Our goal, above all else, is to support students' needs immediately to help them be successful. In order to support our students more effectively, we should be collecting data from multiple sources such as formative assessments, like exit tickets, quizzes, and classwork, as well as summative or unit assessments. We should then take that information to our content area PLC to create authentic and meaningful tasks for student mastery. In addition, having student conferences where dialogue is created and feedback is given can help support all students by offering one-on-one guidance. My hope is that you will join me in creating, implementing, and adhering to the data team and PLC protocols to support our students to become more successful learners.